to the regular board meeting of the Missoula County Public Schools. We're meeting on Monday rather than our regular Tuesday because this is the date by statute that we will set our final budgets for next year. All trustees in attendance with the exception of Mr. Yates, who is out of town. And we have Rachel Wolf in attendance as a student trustee. And that's about it. First on the agenda is to review, revise, and approve the agenda. You have in front of you the addendum to the personnel report. So could I have a so I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Marks, seconded by Tyson. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from July 11. If I have a motion to approve the minutes, please. Okay. Moved by Duran, seconded by Kruger. Discussion. Rosie, Joe? Okay. Let's see. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. First on the agenda for visitors and correspondence is a very sad moment. Want to mark the passing of Mr. Judd Beck, a teacher and wrestling coach at Sentinel High School. He had retired year before last and died a couple of weeks ago. We could have a few seconds of silence for Mr. Beck. Also, a custodian passed away after an automobile accident, Mr. Robert Buck. Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is is public comment. Is there any public comment? Anybody want to say anything at this point? Which brings us to reports. First on the agenda is a report from the Budget Finance Committee. Mr. Dave Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Budget and Finance Committee met last Tuesday, and the focus of that agenda was the up-and-coming budgets, which we will be discussing this evening and voting on. And we had some small discussion relative to the budgetary process for the year, and we're going ahead with the process as stated at the last monthly board meeting.
Thank you. Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation Committee met on July 10th. Ms. Barton.
Buildings, Grounds and Transportation indeed meet on July 10th, and I have reported out on that at the last board meeting. We met again on August 7th at noon and discussed were committee responsibilities. Transportation will now be under the leadership of Mr. Moyer. However, the transportation element of Bill Wisconsin Transportation
you. There was no July meeting of the Curriculum Instruction Committee. Next is the Personnel and Negotiations Committee. Mr. Kruger.
Personnel and Negotiations Committee met on July 25th, and we covered a personnel update, the Meadow Hill principal interviews, curriculum coordinator position, and special education service area coordinator position, and all of these will be discussed further on in detail.
Thank you. There was no July meeting of the Policy Committee, which brings us to student board member. Do you have anything you want to say?
Just that our site-based management team for Big Sky has planned a meeting for, especially tomorrow and the next day, with the 95-96 school year and our start date meeting. So that's tomorrow and the next day.
Thank you. Then last on the reports is a retreat summary. Friday, the board and the administration met at the Chief Charlo School, the new Chief Charlo School, for 8 hours in a retreat to discuss how we do our business, our relationships with one another, the administration with the board with the administration, and also to try to focus on a definition of the problems that are facing the district, not solve the problems, but just focus on defining those problems so that we can discuss them further. We can go through. Is there any board member who would like to give their comments or impressions on the retreat? Okay. That brings us to instruction. Dr. Wing.
Last month, I used this as an opportunity to report to you on the curriculum work that had taken place in June. In June, as you recall, we had curriculum work done in 10 different areas of the curriculum and numerous teachers involved in that. Tonight, I'd like to just take a couple of minutes to update you on what's going on in August. In the curriculum department, we have made a commitment this past year to try to encourage professional development, but to try to conduct it outside of the school day as much as possible so that we can make sure that teachers are in the classroom. In some cases, that is not possible, but we have really encouraged the use of the summer months, and I think as we move along, we're going to see that the summer months become times when we have continuous work going on on the part of teachers. What I have been able to notice in this last year, I know that some of this was here before the invitation, but I've seen it happen on a really clear K-12 basis, and that is that we really have developed in this district among teachers a culture. When we talk about the culture of organization, the culture of this organization is really becoming increasingly one of professional development, of looking for ways to improve what we're doing. And I've seen that in this month, and I'll just mention a couple of things that have been going on. You may have read in the paper about the literacy learning in the classroom workshop that took place in Folsom. We had 25 teachers from our district attend that session for 4 days. It was really intense. The teachers learned, and I learned a tremendous amount about teaching of literacy. And out of that, we all sat down before we left that conference and planned our next strategy, which is to form study groups based around literature that we will share together and study. So that was a wonderful professional development opportunity for our teachers. During the second and third week in August, we had a total of about 60 teachers in 2 different groups who participated
through teaching of basic citizenship skills to kids and conflict management skills. And so about 60 teachers have participated and currently are finishing this week participating in that opportunity. And also this week we have 16 teachers, again kindergarten through 12th grade, who are working at the Willard Adult Learning Center on the development of functional level testing in the area of reading and language usage. And it was exciting this morning when I was over there to watch that group of people, again, kindergarten through 12th grade, working together on the development of an instrument which in fact will be used 3rd through 8th grade. But the people who were there from high school and also the people who were there who teach 1st and 2nd grade were a real key part of that process. So those are the experiences that our teachers are continuing to have even as we're moving into having to get ready to, with their classrooms to open school. I've been really proud of these teachers this summer, and I think that I just wanted you to know about the kinds of things that they're doing. So that concludes my earlier point.
Thank you. Next is the update on the curriculum consortium. This was included in your packet in written form from Mrs. Kuchel. Anything else there? Okay. Then next is annual report, adult and continuing education. Carl?
I wasn't sure if you wanted me to speak on this tonight, or you just wanted to read the little report, but I think we've been through a very successful year this past year. Over 4,900 people participated in the program. Some areas of significant growth were in our telecommunications area. I think that was largely due to Bridget Hendricks, who's our telecommunications technician. She just did a bang-up job with it this year. We had everybody in there from teachers and business people. One week we had undertakers in there for teleconference, and they were followed by dentists. So we get a wide variety of people and users in using it, and it's open to the community for public use. If you have any questions about anything we're doing, I think we have a real exciting year coming up this next year. Bringing back the parent education component, I think will be just a real plus for the district and the community as a whole. So we're looking forward to the challenge. Any questions? Thanks.
Thank you, Carl. Also included in your packet was the middle school spring activity report. Any questions on that? It was informational. Okay, brings us to negotiations update. Mr. Johnson, is there any update?
Well, it's worth walking up here. To date, Mr. Walton and I have met with 3 of the 4 groups, in some cases a couple of different times. And I would, if I were to speculate, I would hope that we will have something for you by the September board meeting on at least 3 of these groups. And so they're progressing optimistically. And again, hopefully next time we'll have something to present.
Thank you. Which brings us to finance. First on the agenda is the approval of the final 1995-96 elementary budget. I will read the all 7, I think there's 7 here. I will read all 7 budgets and their amount, and then if I could have one motion to approve all 7. We'll do it at one fell swoop rather than 7 different motions. The elementary final budget adoption for 1995-96. The general fund budget to be $22,127,498. The transportation budget to be $1,459,635. The tuition budget to be $12,615. The retirement fund budget to be $3,013,465. The adult education budget to be $93,344. The debt service budget to be $1,737,024. The building reserve budget to be $10,000. Could I have a motion to approve these 7 budgets? Anybody?
So moved.
Mr. Tyson, seconded by Jan Guthrie. Discussion on these budgets. Wait a second. Jan moves and Lori Duran seconds. Okay. Discussion. All in favor? Unanimous. Which brings us to the secondary budget. The secondary final budget adoption for 1995-96. The general fund budget to be $18,505,454. The transportation budget to be $929,474. The tuition budget to be $21,162. The retirement fund budget to be $2,264,147. The adult education budget to be $480,590. The debt service budget to be $635,895. The building reserve budget to be $474,341. Could I have a motion to approve these 7 budgets? Moved by Tyson, seconded by Buzzes. Discussion. All in favor of the secondary budget? Unanimous. Next on the agenda is a status report on food service programs. Information. Who's gonna do that?
Included in your packet is some information, including a profit and loss statement. That's what I'd like to call your attention to. It follows the budget amendments, or excuse me, the budget resolutions. And the first one shown there is the revenue and expense report for the elementary district. And if you notice down toward the bottom, it shows the excess of revenues over expenditures, and it shows that to be $22,542. Now, even though it shows a cash balance as of June 30th, 1995 of a negative $4,283, the more important figure to think about here is a fund balance. And fund balance is your cash balance plus accruals. So if someone owes you something, those accruals play into the fund balance but not in the cash balance. So the actual cash balance, or fund balance, excuse me, for the elementary district is $20,972. So you can see that for the year, the elementary district made $22,000 more than the expenses. On the next page is the report for the secondary district. And notice at the bottom again, excess of revenues over expenditures is $53,441. Cash balance showing of $17,135. But when you figure in the accruals, then the actual fund balance comes out to be $19,762. I would like to mention to you that, that this is the first time in quite a number of years at the secondary level that the food service fund has been in the black. It's taken a lot of hard work over a number of years. I certainly would credit Barbiel with pulling that program out. But I'd like to congratulate both the elementary and the secondary food service program for operating in the black this year. I think it's a job well done.
Next is the medical, dental, health insurance annual report. Mr. Johnson.
In your board addendum tonight, you will find a cash report. In the addendum that was handed out to you of the elementary and secondary health insurance fund. And this report reflects similar numbers to what I reported to you on a preliminary basis about a month or 2 months ago. Came very close to projections. We had a good year in short. You will note that the elementary fund gained about $240,000 in its fund balance on a cash basis. The high school about $207,000. And what this does for us is it allowed, first of all, it allowed us to make a recommendation as an insurance committee that we keep the same premium for the forthcoming year. And of course, that's always good news to everyone. So we did have a good year financially, and it looks like we can enter the next year with a certain amount of confidence and trust that that'll hold for another year. Now, I've asked Marty York, who's the chairman of the insurance committee, to come and make a report to you on other activities of the insurance committee tonight, and so Marty's going to do that verbally.
We made 4 substantial changes. Most of those were actually additions to the benefit plan for this past year. One was in the area of speech therapy. We added chiropractic to the plan, and we defined home health care. We were having some difficulties in interpretation with home health care and the maintenance of major medicine. So we divided those and defined them more clearly. And the other thing that we did is we changed the flex plan so that it will reflect a 4-month short enrollment, and that will be September through December of 1995. And the purpose of doing that was so that we can have one deductible year for both our plan design, our deductible year, as well as our flex plan. So in November of 1995, we'll re-enroll for a year period for starting in January through the following December. And that will be one less deadline for our employees to have to remember. In terms of ongoing, and if any of you would like me to delineate or go into any greater depth on the changes that I've just talked about, I certainly have a handout that we gave to our people on June 9th and May 18th, and I can share that with you, or Mary also has some copies and she can get any other copies to you. We have 2 ongoing areas that we're looking into for changes for this upcoming year, and one would be in the area of maintenance medicine. That seems to have been a major complaint of our individuals. Not that it's a problem, I think it's more from the fact that they had HMO, and so they were pretty used to going in and getting a prescription for $5 and $7, and all of a sudden that's now being applied to the deductible. So we've had a lot of people asking us for some relief in the maintenance medicine area. So we are investigating it. When we had our employees in service at the end of the year, we told them that we are not to the fully funded reserve target figure that we'd like to be. And as a result of that, we're going to investigate it from now until January. January is when our official deductible starts over, so if we were to make a plan design change, that would be an appropriate time. So we are in the process of investigating something for maintenance medicine. It would only be for high blood pressure and asthma and diabetics and things of that nature, major maintenance medicine, and we would have to delineate how that would work. The other area that we're looking into in terms of investigating is we have a $10 copay for the office. We have 5 per employee and their dependents. And the purpose of that was for the individual who doesn't usually meet their deductible. But we're having a little problem because it was designed for going to the doctor for when you have the sinus headache or a migraine or something of that nature, which was in a fairly low category of an office visit. And there's no way to separate that out. If I hadn't been to the doctor, then it would be charged according to my $10 copay, even if I was seeing a heart specialist, which was not obviously the intent of the program. So we're investigating what kind of impact, financial impact that has to the plant, and we will probably be making some changes in that area. When, I don't know if we'll be up and running by January. But those are the main things that we're looking at. As Larry said, we're really pleased with where the reserves are coming in. We're hoping that we can be fully funded in terms of a reserve target figure by the end of next year. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Next is an information item. Included is the 1996-97 budget timelines. We have established a schedule by which we're trying to get the budget done for this year. It was distributed at the press conference that we held last week. The week before last. And it's for your information. Okay. Which brings us to buildings, grounds, and transportation. We have an update on the readiness for occupancy of Chief Charlo, C.S. Porter, and the Lowell Modular. Mr. Bocek.
Good evening. Alluding to Mrs. Barton's report, a couple projects that affect us, both Chief Charlotte, Chief Tree was out at, board got a good look at that. Is in the process of being completed on a punch list item, which is no more than filling in some small areas that the contractor just complete. Opening is proceeding well on that. Along with Porter, which got a little bit later start, so we've got some contingency plans nonetheless. The building will open as scheduled, and we'll work in that direction in correlation with the building principal. The modulars at Lowell have been moved, are going together quite nicely, and should be up and running well in advance, about a week in advance of when school opens there. We just recently heard today that the city fire marshal has accepted the phase 1 of the fire sprinkler system in Hellgate. Phase 2 and 3 are in design, and so we're back in good graces with the city as well as the fire department. Major projects that are going on with people as well. Any questions?
Thank you, Gary. Brings us to personnel. First on the agenda is administrative transfer, the assignment to Meadow Hill principal. Mr. Matheson, do you want to do this?
Starting at D in your agenda is a recommendation for hire of the curriculum coordinator. I think you have that in your packet, Susan Arthur. Do you want to handle these separately, or would you like to?
Yeah, why don't you tell us who, we already know, but why don't you tell us who the administrative transfer of the new Meadow Hill principal?
All right, the administrative transfer in Meadow Hill is Patty Harkins. She's from Roosevelt this last year, and she's transferred into Meadow Hill. The recommendation for hire for curriculum coordinator is Susan Arthur. Recommendation for special education coordinator, 1 year only, is Barbara Nelson. And then we wanted to declare the .5 assistant principal position at Meadow Hill open for 1 year. And then finally, request authorization for the personnel to give 24-hour notice to the board between August 14th and September 12th to hire.
Okay. The curriculum coordinator position is also a 1 year only.
Correct.
Okay. Why don't we just go through these one at a time? Let's see, this is an elementary action first. The administrative transfer, which makes We don't have to vote on that, she's an employee of the school district, so she's just being reassigned. The next one is elementary and secondary. This is the recommendation for administrative hire for 1 year only of the curriculum coordinator. Susan Arthur, could I have a motion?
Correct. Susan.
Okay, could I have a motion? Moved by Buzzes, seconded by Kruger. Discussion. Mary?
I would just like to thank Rich Micheletto for his service in the past year in this position, and thank him too for his devotion and loyalty to this district and to his vision of seeing this district in a real global way. He was a wonderful asset in the curriculum office, and he will be missed in that capacity. But I know he will be welcome back at Meadow Hill. So thank you, Rich.
Thank you. I might mention that in the addendum, there is a paragraph, in the addendum to the agenda that was at your position when you came, there is a little paragraph about each of these people that we're hiring. Further discussion. All in favor of the hiring of the curriculum coordinator? Unanimous. Okay, next then would be recommendation for administrative hire, special education coordinator, 1 year only, Barbara Nelson. Could I have a motion, please? Buzzes and Kruger. Discussion. Mary?
Oh, I know Barb Nelson. Barb Nelson taught one of my children at Rattlesnake School. And I think this is a real superb selection for this particular position. It's going to be Rattlesnake's loss, but again, I think a gain for the district and also for Ms. Nelson, who will be missing from Rattlesnake. Congratulations.
Thank you. Further discussion. All in favor of the administrative hire of Barbara Nelson, special education coordinator, 1 year only? Unanimous. Unanimous. Okay, that takes care of the hires. Next is to declare a half-time assistant principal position at Meadow Hill open. This would be a 1 year only, and that would be an elementary matter. Could I have a motion to declare it open? Moved by Kruger, seconded by Barron. Discussion. All in favor of declaring a half-time assistant principal at Meadow Hill position open? Raise your hand. Unanimous. And then last, this is a elementary secondary item, is a request for authorization to hire with 24-hour notice to the board between August 14th and September 12th. Could I have a motion? Moved by Barton, seconded by Guffin. Discussion. All in favor? Everybody? Okay, unanimous. Thank you, Don, very much. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda, and I will read the consent agenda. I'm sorry.
I have one question.
Yes, please.
Go on. Where are we? How many positions do we have not hired? What do we have out there? What's the general?
I'd say about between 20 and 25.
Are they all high school?
That's certified.
Certified. And what's that breakdown, high school and elementary?
I don't know that right off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
Dr. Cornell?
We can get that information more clearly broken out for you and voicemail the board on that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Okay, consent agenda. I will read the consent agenda under finance. First, A is approval of claims. This is elementary and secondary. This is paying the bills. B is permission to apply for a Title 11 Chapter 2 grant funds. C is award of bids, a vertical rack oven, and then some cheap Charlotte playground equipment. In personnel, first, A is the ongoing routine hires, transfers, declared vacancies, essentially the personnel report. B is resignations. Under old business, A is the second reading of proposed file 4222, collection of money, food, or clothing in cases of community need, emergencies, or disasters. B is the second reading of proposed file 4223, workplace fundraising, charitable campaigns. C is the second reading of file 3271, weapons-free schools. D is recodify copyright policy from file 8221 to file 2312. E is delete elementary file 8221, copyright policy. F is delete elementary file 9200, collections of money, food, or clothing, and elementary administrative regulation 9200, charitable campaigns. 16, new business. One item, the approval of program narrative submission and assurance statement for special education programs from 1995-96. That is the consent agenda. Could I have a motion for approval, please? Moved by Guffin, seconded by Buzzes. Discussion. All in, yes.
I just have a comment.
Sure.
One of the resignations that we are, I assume, going to approve tonight is a valuable employee of the district, and I just feel like she deserves mention. And that is Margaret Lehman, who has served the past 28 years approximately as the principal, or I'm sorry, as the secretary at Paxton School. I know that many members of the Paxton School Committee are going to miss Margaret very much, as well as the children. And I've known and worked with Margaret personally over the last several years. And she's just the type of person who makes you feel very safe to have your child at school, because she always knew where all the children, who they were, and she always knew where they were. And if you didn't call in by 9 o'clock in the morning, if they were sick, you had a phone call at home or work or wherever to let you know your child wasn't there. If they were 10 minutes late for lunch, if they left the playground, she was right on top of it all. She has a warmth about her and a knowledge and a history that I know will be greatly missed, and I just wanted to extend our thanks to her as such an excellent employee over the last several years.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor of the approval of the consent agenda? Unanimous. Which brings us to the superintendent's report. Ms. Wagner.
Included in your packet is the superintendent's report. I'd like to point out that elementary buildings, K through 5, opened this morning with building secretaries back. They are in the process tomorrow of beginning to call all of their students that are registered that were registered as of the end of the past school year. We will be expecting an update with whatever information they've been able to glean over Tuesday, Wednesday, and of course a final update on Thursday afternoon to talk to us about the enrollment numbers as they see them. In addition, people in the community with children new to our district, K through 5, have been asked to register those students tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. The Missoulian did have that request in the paper on Saturday. It was on the back page of the B section. I have anticipated that after a phone call today with them, that they will run that again, preferably tomorrow, in a place in the paper that has more recognition. So we are anticipating that we should have pretty accurate numbers for you by Thursday evening in advance of the budget and finance and personnel negotiations meeting at noon on Friday. The middle schools will be open next week, and
high schools have a variable schedule, and orientation is variable across the 4 high schools for incoming freshmen, as well as time to take pictures, pick up schedules, those kinds of things. We're trying to work to minimize the interruption of the instructional day once school begins on the 29th and take care of housekeeping duties before the actual beginning of school. The Montana High School Association submitted its list of committees and members for those committees for 1995-96. Serving on committees from our district are Russ Pelcher and myself. Russ is on the track and cross country individual sports committee, and I am on the interschool activities committee. Prior to this evening, the board had discussed whether or not the adult education program could look at considering charging tuition for students that live outside of our district and enrolled in adult education classes. There is a letter from Mike Shasted included as a part of the superintendent's report, and Mike's opinion is that the law says that there is no provision for the imposition of non-resident tuition charges. The only statute related to adult ed is tuition specifically provides that tuition is to be established either on a per course basis or on the basis of the cost of the entire adult ed program. And he said based on this provision and the absence of any authorization for non-residence charges, it's his conclusion that the district cannot impose non-resident tuition charges. So we did follow up on that, and that should pretty much clarify that whole question. The federal and state grants update is included in your packet. I would like to call attention to the Title V Indian Education Grant that is registered there for you. It's $47,403. That's an elementary grant. It is down $3,600 from last year. And the SIMS grant is up $3,000 at $35,845, and that is a secondary grant. I did receive from the Office of Public Instruction their projection of grants for 96-97, and that will be in your packet next month. The grant allocations coming out of the federal government show substantial drops in dollars, 18 to 19% on the average. And I would like to take time at next month's meeting to go through that by grant so that you have a greater awareness. And this will help us in our budget planning and staffing, having a better idea a year in advance now where the federal government may come in on soft dollars. We received notification that Gail Johnson, who is an elementary teacher at Cold Springs, and Linda Robson, a secondary teacher at Sentinel, completed the Summer Institute of Montana Writing Project, and these two teachers are now trained and able to assist and lead in-service programs in the district relating to teaching of writing, computers, and writing, portfolio assessment, and curriculum development. We have already held 3 of our key communicator meetings. There's another one set for Friday at 7 a.m. in this room. If anyone would like to rise and shine a little earlier and join us, we welcome you. They are very insightful experiences with members of our community as they are working through the visioning process as the trustees have set forth for us. Included in your packet at the retreat, and we did indeed talk briefly about the summary statements that have been drawn up from the first 2 key communicator sessions. That information will be banked and be available for us to draw on as we continue the planning process in the district. In addition to that, the key communicators will be an integral component of building the key communicator relationship over the course of the next several years, and that will be our next step in working with them. There are a number of dates I'd like to call your attention to. Policy Committee will meet at 4 o'clock on September 18th. That is a change because the trustees on Friday indicated that they were thinking that they could be available for a 5 o'clock work session on September 18th. And trustees were asked to think about September 18th, Monday, as that date for the follow-up work session from the retreat. So we will go ahead and plan unless someone has a conflict that you're aware of at this time. Be 5 o'clock, probably completed about 8 or 8:30. Mr. Yates has asked that the policy committee just have an hour's worth of business on that day. 9-month staff come back to school on the 28th, which is next Monday. 2 weeks away. And students return to school on the 29th. Just as a point of clarification, normally the districts have had 2 PIR days before students come back. This year is different. The first PIR day will be the 28th. The second PIR date is September the 18th. And that will be a 3-day weekend for students. When staff comes back, we will have the staff breakfast on the 18th of September as opposed to the 28th of August. There will be a public hearing on the season switch for volleyball, basketball for the girls program. That public hearing will be held in Missoula on the 19th of September at Sentinel High School. At Sealy Swan High School on the 27th of September at 7 p.m. And throughout the state of Montana, these meetings are being held over the last 3 weeks of September, and the input will be received at MHSA and compiled at MHSA for all the public meetings statewide. And then the task force for volleyball, basketball seasons will then address all of the input received in the first week of October. There is anticipated, and students, if you can put this into your calendars, Rachel, 6 p.m. on September the 12th, and that will be a work session with the trustees to talk about the role of the student trustee representative and to talk about expectations from a board perspective as well as from a student perspective, and try to maximize the involvement of students in their connection with the trustees. So if you put 6 p.m. on your calendars, and that will be in this room. The budget and finance meeting will be on September 12th because of Labor Day, and the buildings and grounds and transportation meeting will be on September the 11th because of Labor Day. And these dates will be updated in the master calendar and sent out to you. The staff development day is September the 18th, and I would like to ask if the trustees could indeed try to adjust your schedules to at least spend the first couple hours of that day with us, and asking Dr. Kuplik if he could give a brief welcome back on behalf of the board to all of our staff, possibly that morning, the 18th of September. And we will have an all-staff breakfast, K through 12 for all employees. And there will be a keynote speaker. His name is Dr. Richard Andrews. He is from the University of Missouri, and he will be talking about school improvement. There will be a tour on the 21st of August, that's next Monday, with the press invited, former trustees, and any administrator that would like to make the time available to see Chief Charlo School and C.S. Porter School, and that will be next Monday afternoon. The administrative in-service begins tomorrow and continues through Thursday at noon, and we have already talked about that agenda, and you're welcome to join us on Wednesday or Thursday if you'd like. I would like to also update the board that on Thursday there was a meeting in Helena in Governor Roscoe's conference room, and we met with officials of TCI. There were 3 school superintendents from this area, myself, Mr. Bailey from Target Range, and Mr. Bridgeton from Hellgate Elementary. 2 representatives from the University of Montana, Dr. Churchill and Dr. Cleveland, and numerous representatives from Denver, Spokane, Seattle, and different places in Montana from TCI.
talking about TCI's readiness to possibly make a significant business decision to lay more cabling in this area and be able to move users online rapidly to connect with the internet through the use of cable. And there are some advantages for the district to be engaged with TCI at this point in time. There is another meeting on Thursday, and I'll have more concrete information for you after that meeting on Thursday. If indeed TCI does make this business decision, their decision will be made in all likelihood within the next couple weeks. The University of Montana has been successful in being awarded a National Science Foundation grant of approximately $8 million and a Microsoft Research and Development grant in developing software for K-12 public education. And one of the sites that is part of the National Science Foundation grant to move target schools online in statewide and nationwide networking is Paxson School, obviously because they have been fully wired and up and functional. And we had 2 schools targeted to try to bring online, depending upon the availability of resources, but we anticipate that TCI Cable may provide some resources to help us with some of that cost. I don't have any more detail at this point in time. This was a first discussion with TCI to see if they were interested. Obviously, with the people power that they flew in for a 3-hour session on Thursday, they're seriously considering whether or not this will be a business endeavor for them. And I'll let you know as rapidly as things progress. Thank you.
Rosie?
I had a question, Mary, regarding opening of school, starting school. Someone had asked me if the middle schools, all 4 will be sending out student schedules prior to the first day of school. I know some do, I didn't know if all of them did.
In all likelihood, the answer is no, that the anticipation is that children will receive those on the first day.
Thank you.
Joint budget and finance
I have a couple of questions. Can I ask the superintendent? If the TCI process is successful, might one of those schools being considered to bring online be a secondary school?
Yes, and there are a couple things happening right now. When I was in Helena on Thursday, I learned that TCI is in the process of recabling Sentinel High School, which was something that we were not aware of. And one of the benefits of having the MEA convention here in Missoula is that TCI recognized that we just have a lot of work still to be done in that area. There's also been discussion of bringing online Big Sky High School as a possibility. That is one of the schools in Washington Middle School. And so the schools that we have targeted in the planning previous to now are Big Sky, Washington, and Paxson. And Sentinel's rewiring through TCI moves us to a whole new dimension now for Sentinel High School. And part of the work that was done through the SIMS work this year included bringing in a portable setup so that there could be video linkage from Sentinel to other locations, and that was portable this year. It was tried a couple times for a couple of class sessions in Mr. Brecky's classroom. And so how all of that will shake out yet, I don't know.
Thank you. I have one more question. May we at some point continue to discuss whether we want to ask someone to carry legislation enabling us to charge tuition for out-of-county students? It is complex to pass on mill levies and to support our people in the county. We are allowed, as agreed has commented to me, to charge tuition for high school students who come to our schools from other districts. I think that needs continued consideration.
We have a whole other cycle of delegate assembly and resolutions with the MSBA legislative session. So if you file this in the back of your mind, remember next April or May, we can draw up a resolution and get the MSBA to carry it for us.
Actually, we can prepare a resolution for you, and if that's what you want, then we'll just have it in a tickler minute, so we can do that.
Okay. Old business. One item on old business, this was an information item last time and it's an action item this time. The approval of the interlocal agreement for technology consortium. This is an elementary secondary item. Second? Moved by Tyson, seconded by Kruger to approve the interlocal agreement for technology consortium. Discussion? All in favor? Okay. That brings us to new business. One item on new business, and that's a request for early admittance to kindergarten. Haven't seen one of these in a long time.
This request is for a student, Dewey Yokelson, and this student will be a student in the Mount Jumbo Prescott attendance area. Mrs. Edwards has worked through the request with the family and finds that the request is appropriate and indeed recommends that the board allow Dewey to enter kindergarten.
Can I have a motion? Moved by Kruger, seconded by Buzzes to admit Dewey, D-E-W-I, Yokelson to kindergarten. Discussion?
In general principle, I would be opposed to this, no matter what the fund qualities of the child are. There are many good children out there who would be admitted early if we start admitting early. I think that our deadlines are reasonable and usually appropriate.
Rosie?
I would hope that we move away more from birthdays and ages to more developmental readiness, and I think that the procedure we have here outlines developmental readiness, and so I think when these situations do come along, they're scrutinized pretty thoroughly, and I guess I'm up for the other side, Maureen, that we ought to be educating children as they're developmentally ready to be educated versus their chronological age, when their birthday happens to come.
Further discussion? All in favor of admitting Dewey Yokelson to Mount Jumbo School this fall? Opposed? Cornell opposing. Okay. Items from board members. Mr. Sadler.
I attended this summer a convention in San Francisco. It was put on by the International Sorority Alpha Delta Kappa. 11 members from Missoula attended that fine convention. There were many speakers. It was 4 days long, and during the convention, I spoke with many of the teachers who attended from Missoula, although there were many that came from the state of Montana. It was a wonderful convention, and the persons who attended it, who were teachers from here, should all be commended for their participation. It was a fine convention. I have another matter. We talked about at the board retreat, and I didn't want to get it lost in the shuffle, and I don't know which committee it should be referred to. And that is I would like to see our board meetings be, at least some of the board meetings, be able to be held at different schools in the district. Tonight, I believe we're not on live TV. This is being taped, and it's going to be relayed at a later time. And Same thing could happen with if we held a meeting, say at Big Sky High School or Sentinel High School, and the very presence of the board in those communities bring parents and the faculty and the staff to those meetings, and I think it heightens the participatory nature of them. I don't think we have to have all of our meetings, but several meetings I think would be helpful. I don't know which committee would look into that, but I would like it to be moved into.
We can put it on the agenda for the further discussion on the 18th.
Thank you.
Further items from Ms. Barron?
Well, now that I have a few minutes to think about the retreat, I decided I wanted to make a comment because we all kind of just sat here and stared into space. On Friday, we had a retreat at Chief Charlot's school, and I just wanted to say that it was very productive, and I wanted to thank all of the administrators who came and the board members who came. Team building, even though it's gotten kind of a sort of a negative connotation about it because people usually are forced to do this team building that maybe they don't always want to do. We had a really good time. We all got to know each other a little bit better. We got to understand what the board thinks about issues, what administrators think about issues, and I think it was a real positive step in working together for the new year. And I also wanted to say this is about the shortest board meeting I've ever seen. So I'd like to ask to be able to sit next to Mike again.
Kept me moving right along. Further items? Okay, let's quit.